Hello everyone, this is Remleiz from 40k Theories, and welcome to this new episode of Adeptus Podcastus. Joining me as always is Tactica Imperialis.
Hello everyone.
Yep, no guest again this week. We're sorry for having like 2 episodes in a row without a guest, but unfortunately our currently planned guest couldn't actually join us due to technical issues. It happens, and given how late it is, it's just too late in the day to try and find a substitute. We apologise, but it is what it is.
These things happen. It's fine. We move, we get on, and the show must go on, as they say. So let's get cracking.
Indeed. So let's jump into quite possibly the biggest piece of news this week, and that is the revelation that End in the Death is no longer a 2-parter, or no longer a 2-parter. I can't fucking talk. Who cares? No, it's now a 3-parter.
Indeed. Which I get, because, considering where the End in the Death Volume 1 left off, was roughly the beginning of the assault on the Vengeful Spirit, if I'm remembering correctly.
You are remembering correctly. You are remembering correctly, yes.
Meaning that they had to try and fit in the Sanguinius fight and the Emperor fight and all the aftermath in one book. And as good as Dan Abnett is, there was only so much paper he would need. And I think I have a lot of respect for Dan for going, you know what? I thought I could do this in 2, but these events need to be done right, and I need to do it in 3.
I guess so, but the cynical part of my brain is thinking, well, Games Workshop knows how much these books sell, make another one, kind of thing. Because, to be honest, I think you could possibly, fit both the Sanguinius and Emperor fight into one book. If the original Bill King story could fit the Emperor fight into 2 fucking pages in detail and make it epic as fuck, I'm pretty sure Dan Abnett can fit it into one book.
Yeah, but I think it's not, bearing in mind that we're not just trying to wrap up the Sang fight and the Emperor fight, we're also trying...
I know there's a lot to get through, because obviously, you got to do the whole aftermath, the Emperor getting in turn to the Golden Throne, the arrival of the Ultramarines, and then Lionel Johnson and Russ turning up on Terra right at the very end of the threats, fucking off into the Eye of Terror, blah, blah, blah. I understand there is a lot to get through, but I guess it's just a cynical part of me thinking, you cash-grabbing bastards. Kind of
oh, no, I get the cynic thing, but considering Dan says in his interview, it took me 2 years to write the whole bloody novel. Bearing in mind, The End of the Death is one novel. This is not like a trilogy of books, a standalone trilogy within the Siege of Terror series. It's one book that is just too big and has had to be split into 3 books. Now, we sometimes see this with film adaptations because, books are long, so they split them into several parts. Harry Potter did it. I can't believe I'm about to speak this name. Twilight did it, and many others. But when you're actually writing the source material of what is, let's be clear, probably the most important book in modern 40k literature for a decade. I'm not taking away from Dawn of Fire here, because I know how important Dawn of Fire is. I've read 2 of them in the last 2 weeks. I've read 2 Dawn of Fire books. But
is it really important?
But it's the continuation of the plot, so it is important.
Okay, fair enough.
But this is the book that sets up the entire mythos of what Warhammer 40,000 is.
I agree.
Agreed. He says it himself. This is a snapshot of what really happened, where the myth grew from. What the myth becomes is probably more important, but this is a moment of being there at ground zero and seeing it actually play out from numerous perspectives. So I think this is probably the most important book in a decade, if not more, in terms of most important piece of literature. Arguably since something like Galaxy in Flames. Something like that, arguably. So I think I understand why Dan wanted to A, take his time, B, not miss anything, and C, do it right. So if it was 3 separate authors writing 3 books in a trilogy, I'd be with you on the cynic train. But because it's one book by one author that's just too big to mechanically print, I'm willing to be a bit more sympathetic.
Well, I wouldn't say too big to mechanically print. I think you...
Well, that's his words. That's his words. We simply mechanically can't print books that big. That's his words.
I mean, I'm feeling like I've seen how big his short story anthology is. I've got a copy of it. It's like 700 pages thick, kind of thing. I think he potentially could. It'd be very, very, very expensive, more than likely. But
yeah,
I think that's the real thing. So we can't do it because it'll cost too much. Rather than they physically can't, they financially can't. I reckon that's what it's probably.
Yeah, 6 of what, because also the bigger the book gets, the stronger the spine has to be, and it would therefore have to be a hardback rather than a paperback, which all the other Siege books have been paperbacks, as I understand it.
No, they've been released in hardback as well.
Oh, well, certainly the paperback would be unprintable.
I wouldn't think so, considering like the paperback ones, you got like, omnibuses. Like if you can have like the entire Night Lords trilogy as one book.
Well, probably each of these books is probably as long as the Night Lords trilogy.
I probably wouldn't go that far, but
I'm not far off though.
I'd say each book's probably about as long as the first 2 combined. I'd say.
Yeah, so that's 6 Night Lords novels in one book. That's two Night Lords trilogies in one book. And you think the spine won't fall apart, or that some shelves won't fall apart under that?
Hey, if your shelves fall apart under that, then it's up on you to get stronger shelving.
Fair point. We also did get a look of the cover, actually, for this. And someone, I think it was on not Twitter, because that's not...
Blue Sky.
No, this was on what Twitter has become, but it's not called Twitter anymore. On X.
No. We refuse to call it X. It's still Twitter.
Right. So someone on Twitter said it's a really nice remix of that old school style. Like, it's the Emperor versus Horus, very clearly, but it's very reminiscent of the old style of artwork. It's not Blanche. It's clearly not Blanche. But, I think that's what they're trying to get at, is it feels very retro.
Yeah. Though, I'll be honest, I'm not 100% of a fan of the Emperor's Superman pose. And don't get me wrong, I love Horus's pose, with the claw reaching out. That looks cool as hell. But Emperor being like, super E, that's kind of funny. I'm sorry.
I think it's because of the logistics of the fact that he's having to attack Horus, but he's also, you want to show the detail of the art. So he's got his back to Horus and like he's swinging in, which is a bit daft. I think that's wanting to get the Emperor's armor across and make it clear that this is the Emperor, rather than actually making him look like Superman, if I were to guess.
I guess so.
But anyway.
But I reckon, personally, I prefer the style of the duel that was depicted on Visions of Heresy. Not the 2nd edition version, but the 1st edition version.
I've seen a few different ones of different ones. Which one do you mean? Because
the one where the Emperor's got a sword and Horus is slashing with his talon, that thing.
The lightning one.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, because I always remember the really old art, not the Blanche one. Horus versus the Emperor.
Oh, was that the one from Rogue Trader?
I don't know if it's the one from Rogue Trader. It's the one that everyone used to use in the way back when, in the back.
Oh, the one where
Horus is stood over Sanguinius' corpse. Yeah,
that one. Yeah, that's a classic.
Yeah, that was the first one I saw. But the other one that's actually is that a real one or is? Yeah, that is a real one. Yeah, the one where they're just both stood there, sword to mace, is a bit crap.
Which one's that? Oh, the one, the 2nd Visions of Heresy one.
I think so. Yeah. That looks very digital art and a bit crap by comparison.
I think it's the same artist doing the new versions of the art for Enter and Death 3.
Maybe. Yeah, that one. I don't like that one.
Yeah. I mean, it's not a bad piece of art, but it just doesn't hold a candle to the classics.
No. And actually, you know what? I'm going to give a shout out here. As much as we're going on about the 3rd one, I want to give a shout out to the 2nd one for a minute, because I'd never seen the full canvas of it. I'd only ever seen the front cover. But if you actually look at the full thing, the whole image, it's actually got a lot more detail than I actually had reckoned for. So, for example, you can see Sanguinius and Horus fighting, but you've got 4 thrones one for each of the 4 Chaos Gods, as well as a separate throne where Horus sits at the top. And I hadn't seen that full piece of art until I was researching for the podcast. And I was like, that's a really great touch. I really like that. To have 4 thrones for the 4 gods, and then Horus stood above all. So they're like Mortarion, Magnus, Angron, and Fulgrims, if you like.
Yeah, because like the Khornate one's obviously the Rune of Khorne. The Tzeentch one is the flame styled in a bit like the Rune of Tzeentch. Then you got one just made of bones, which I assume's Nurgle.
I think it might part be bone, or it could be wicker, like wood, but I think it is bone.
I think it's, but yeah, I don't. A wicker throne would look very out of place. Like, who is big marble throne, flesh throne, bone throne, wicker,
tree of life thing, tree of death kind of thing, and then just
still fits with Nurgle in other case.
Yeah, and then just like a complete hellscape of writhing everything for the Slanesh one.
Yeah.
So no, I just really appreciated that touch, and I hadn't seen the full like landscape before, so I just wanted to give a shout out to that piece of art as well.
That's fair enough. I'll post images of the artwork for anyone asking it within a link on Twitter, which will be linked down below, so you can view it there, and then you can follow us on Twitter or Blue Sky or whichever. Shameless plug.
Yeah,
I think that's the first time I've actually probably shamelessly plugged my Twitter in like about 5 years.
Yeah, it's not something we would shamelessly plug. Although,
especially not to state of the site now. God no. But anyway, let's avoid topical stuff like that.
Moving on.
Yes.
I think actually, as important as the End of the Death is, if you're someone who plays the games, you probably didn't give much of a crap. No. What was probably the biggest reveal on a miniatures front is they kind of dropped the entire army range for Cities of Sigmar in one go.
Oh yeah.
So they dropped.
Yeah, wasn't that due to the fact that someone actually leaked like the army book or something online?
I think there was a leak of the battle tome. Yes. Thanks again, you twat. But
let's be honest, I'm pretty sure someone in Games Workshop is doing this deliberately. Just hey, look at this quote convenient link. Looks like we gotta reveal this to you now to get hype.
You see, for one miniature, yes. For the whole range, no. For me, I agree up to a point,
fair enough.
But anyway, we did get to see it because obviously this leak happened, and there was a bunch of cool stuff. The first one is another named character, Pontifex Zenestra, which is a matriarch, and is being carried by pilgrims on a throne. She's got a skeleton that looks exactly like her. I will say
this will look great as like a centerpiece for like either an Inquisition or an Ecclesiarchy army, like Sisters of... Like, you could probably use this to convert for, like, a Sisters of Battle army, I can imagine.
Well, most of the Cities of Sigmar range kind of has that Witch Hunter vibe about it.
Yeah. But so this will look really good for, like, tell you what you could use this for. You could use this as, like, accounts as... Like, do some conversion.
Trying to St. Catherine, maybe.
Yeah, exactly. Like a version... Considering the back of it has, like, that burning skeleton... That'll look so cool. I reckon that'll look really good for a Triumph of St. Catherine stand-in.
Yeah, I think that would be really good. We also got to see a great cannon, because the humans have cannons. And we got to see its rules in a later article because they revealed what's called the Castellite formation, which is, I think, its starting box, and it contains a cannon, which has got 3 different fire modes, which is pretty cool because it's got the move and fire grape shot and then different shells you can load into it, which is pretty cool. Because the whole idea is the city's formation that they're being given, which is like troops who've got the big shields and then ogres and the cannon, and it acts like a walking fortress. So you've got the walls, the corner turrets, and then the cannon is the gatehouse. That's the principle behind the formation.
That's cool. I have seen some people complain that they look far too quote-unquote grimdark. I'm just thinking.
No,
this is Warhammer.
I actually go, no, it doesn't. I don't see. Like, it's a grim reality, but it's not. I wouldn't call it grimdark.
Do you know what? I think the main issue with a lot of people is the fact that I think it's mainly the color schemes for Cities of Sigmar that they're very. I suppose like one of the words you say is dingy or dirty looking.
Yes, because that's very realistic.
Yeah, I agree. But I think it's because it's dingier compared to, like, say, when you compare it to like the old Warhammer Fantasy Empire range, which was very colourful and very bright and very vibrant.
Yeah, I did see some
dirtier in
whinging.
comparison.
I did see some whinging about it. Oh, look at what they sacrificed for this crappy Cities of Sigmar range, which I'm like, piss off. Like, the Empire range was great. Don't get me wrong. I love the Empire. I nearly collected the Empire for Fantasy at one point. I did get a copy of the Army book on script. But it was one of them of like, if you wanted to play the Empire, you needed 1 million troops, and everything had to be either themed around one city, but then if you took how you built the kit determined how you painted it. Yeah. Up to a point. Like, if you built the knights a certain way, oh, they're Reichsguard. Oh, no, they're the Hammers of Wolf, or the Middenheim ones. Or they're whatever.
Rex Panther.
Or whatever, yes. And I love the Empire Age. It was a bit dated. You could tell. And this is miniature-wise, is a great successor. Is it as colourful? No. Is that realistic? Absolutely. This is a high fantasy setting, and these are the everyday mortals who will walk every single day. These armies walk out of the free cities to go and found a settlement in fuck knows where. So, to be honest, I'm quite alright with them having plate armour, and yes, you've got the bright reds, but I don't mind it being dingy and worn and faded. That's absolutely fine. It makes sense.
Can we just take a moment to appreciate that one model, which is basically like that person, that cloak with just the tip of their sword poking out from between like the folds of their cloak? That looks so cool. That would look really good as like really good. That would look really good rather as like possibly like a Death Cult assassin or like an Inquisitor or something.
So these are the Free Guild Command Corps, and there's actually some great models across the whole range. You've got a Herald, like a battle standard bearer. You've got a battlefield surgeon, who I'm sure many Necromunda players are eyeing up gleefully, along with the Corpus Somni Pipers, who are just like necromancers, but with theatrics. Like, they just are. He's got a literal flute-playing zombie like the Pied Piper of Hamelin for souls, which is hilarious.
Yeah. You got the bear. The guy in the heavy armour with a bear helmet.
Yeah, the Arch Knight, which is an absolute shungus.
He looks awesome.
And then the model you mentioned, the Whisper Blade, the Death Cult assassin type thing.
The Bear Knight guy. Right, we found a miniature to help use to convert astral bears in 40k. The canonical bear themed chapter. Yeah, exactly. We have a helmet for a sergeant or a chapter master. There we go. Yes, we have something now. A bear helmet. Yes.
And I know, again, as much as it's not great for Necromunda, I can imagine Warcry players are like, right, we need a warband in Cities of Sigmar like right now.
Yeah.
I think we actually got to see some archers a couple of weeks ago, and it's just sort of slipped by in the news cycle that they brought out archers as well to go with the handgunners and crossbowmen. Yeah. They were like scout archers. I don't know if they were a Warcry warband or what. Give me a second. It was around here somewhere. I do remember seeing them, and I just need to find it again.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
Oh, here we go. The Wilder Core Hunters. They're a Warcry. I think they're a Warcry warband, or can be used as. But they're like a hunting party with hunting hounds and this kind of thing. I'll show you now. There you go.
Ooh, those look cool.
Yeah,
they come with good boys.
Yeah, they're also invisible at greater than 12 inches or while in cover. So if you park them in a forest, they're invisible.
Nice.
Yes, they are a Warcry warband and a part of the Cities of Sigmar army, which is just a nice thing. Boys. And good boys, yes, and good boys.
Because there's 5 good boys in this warband, yes, and they're awesome.
Yes, and then finally we had the Free Guild Cavalier Marshal. For if you want your general to be on a horse, they did give you a horse hero, and it looks suitably like a champion on a horse should. It's actually a bit boring.
Do you know what, though? I think this is quite possibly the best horse sculpt they've done ever.
That's a bold statement.
Considering that a lot of like regular horses have been quite meh, but this one it seems like proportionately correct as well, which as a lot of the horse sculpts don't. Like, I think this one is just quite possibly the best horse sculpt they've done. If you disagree,
Maybe.
feel free. But
No, I can't think of one that's better, but it's also, bear in mind how well painted it is. It looks a lot more realistic because of how well painted it is as well.
yeah.
But no, when you see the whole Cities of Sigmar army arrayed with the knights and their marshal, you've got the command corps with their marshal, you've got the cannons and the handgunners and the war hulk snipers and the steel helms, and then these pack hunters, you've got the manticore. I honestly think the city's army looks really good. Like, this is obviously the Free Guild core, and some of the units from the human stuff is staying, like the Luminarch of Hish is staying, and there's other stuff that's staying. But as a core for a direction to take Cities of Sigmar, I honestly really think they've got themselves into a great spot. And I'm really, really happy with the models that they've shown off. I think they're really good.
Agreed. And speaking of models, not haven't been shown off, but have been teased, Joy Toy have teased some Horus Heresy toys. Or figures, if you want to be, pedantic about it.
Oh, have they? I didn't actually... I missed
Yeah, they
this.
have, yeah. They basically posted a teaser with like a silhouette of like some Mark III armor with Let the Galaxy Burn.
Ah.
So yeah, Joy Toy are going to be releasing some Horus Heresy figures.
They've also made a Guilliman.
Yep, they have.
And it looks sick.
It does indeed.
It looks better than the actual Guilliman miniature there, I said it.
It does actually, yeah. Funny enough, they also the other day revealed the Dread Knight, and it actually looks better than the model as well, because this has much better proportions, because they had to change proportions to make it work as an action figure, and it looks so much better.
Yeah, I'm going to see if I can find it now, because I haven't seen that one.
I'll bring up the link. You carry on talking. I'll give you the images.
But no, it's the Joy Toy range. I've actually considered, and I didn't. I'm very glad I didn't, but I've really considered buying the Crisis suit. But they've actually done they only talk about a few of them on the Warhammer Community, but they've actually got loads. I'm actually on the store now, and I'm just flicking through of just how much crap there actually is here. It's ridiculous. Like Thunderwolf Cavalry, Corsaro Khan, Crisis suit. The Gemini Superior, Assault Terminators, Hellbrecht is here, Terminator Lord.
Is Shadow Sun there?
I haven't seen her. Victrix Guard.
Because I remember showing you the toy.
Voldus. Oh yeah, you did. I'm just scrolling back up. Celestine, Terminators, Honor Guards, Chapter Ancients, Iron Priest. Tempestus Scions, Paragon War Suits, Havocs, Infiltrators.
But what do you think of the proportions of the Dread Knight? Doesn't it actually look so much better as an action figure than it does as the model?
It doesn't have a pilot.
It does actually come with one.
Okay.
The pilot's a separate figure which you can just pose in and out of it, so you can have him stand next to it with his thunder hammer and all that.
Oh, I'm with you.
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah, it does look good, to be fair. It does look good.
If you just saw the Dread Knight action figure, you'd be like, that thing looks cool, and then you see the model, that looks like shit.
It does happen sometimes. Whenever you make something new out of something old, it will almost always look better. So.
Oh yeah, I completely agree. Funny enough, anyone listening, can you post in the comments for those of you who actually have either the Joy Toy Marines and the Bandai Marines, and comment which one's actually...
Oh, I think Shadow Sun's Bandai, because she's not here on the Joy Toy. I think she's one of the Bandai ones.
No, she's definitely Joy Toy, because the Bandai figures are a lot bigger.
Well, she's not here.
Really?
On the Warhammer 40,000 figures page, no, she's not here.
Oh. Well, good thing you can buy from other stores then.
Actually, this is not actually Joy Toy's official website. That GW didn't actually link to the official website of Joy Toy, the cheeky bastards.
Well, if you're interested in Eve, you can buy the Shadow Sun figure on Amazon for £96. What was that?
That was a expression of shock.
Well, bear in mind that the Dread Knight I showed you, that costs about $300 something. So I think this is actually a pretty good bargain, all things considered.
Everything's relative, and relative to the Dread Knight, yes. Relative to you could buy 2.5, nearly 3 Shadow Sun models for that.
Yeah, but you can't. They're not articulated action figures. You can't pose them on diorama stands and have them do this. Or you have to paint it yourself. You're paying for convenience of a painted action figure. So
right, when they do a Farsight, maybe I'll consider it, but not today.
Hey, Neve, imagine if they do a Trinity. They do Shadow Sun, Farsight, and Okais as a triple pack.
Oof.
You're tempted, aren't you?
I don't have the money to afford that, as you well know.
If you would like to buy Neve the Pure Type triple pack...
No. I'm not taking people's money for stuff that I don't need. Thank you.
Fair enough. So what else is in the news?
Seraphon got a Vanguard box, which is 10 Saurus, 3 Croxagore, and a Carnosaur Lord, which is cool. And actually, probably something for those of you who are Warhammer Plus-y people, a model form of the Black Talons from the titled Black Talon show that is on Warhammer Plus. The characters, the Stormcast warband that Black Talon runs with, and their Ideneth Soulscryer friend, have been released as a new unit of miniatures. I don't know if they're going to have any rules. I don't think it says anywhere if they're going to have rules. No, it doesn't say anything about whether they're going to have rules or not.
Isn't this like the second model Neve Black Talons had now?
Yes. She got a model when she was released, but that was in first edition AOS it was in the Blight War box when they released Horticulus Slimax, and I know because I bought that box.
Oh god, yeah. That was the one with the weird snail, wasn't it?
Yes, that's Horticulus Slimax, the guy on the snail.
Yeah.
But no, it's actually it's a good set of miniatures, to be fair. Black Talon looks a lot better.
Yeah, I still think that GW has a little bit of a problem when it comes to sculpting women's faces, though. They can never quite get it right, I feel.
Maybe.
Like, sometimes they look fine, but sometimes they look a little off. Then again, that's true of a lot of faces, like a lot of human faces. Sometimes they just look off.
Well, yeah, it's the uncanny valley, because they either look perfect or so close that they look odd.
Yeah, to be honest, I think the best faces GW does are ones with, big beards. Because half the face is hidden by a fucking beard. Like that one for the Black Town box set, the big beardy bloke.
Yeah, I know who you mean. Yeah, I've forgotten his name, but he looks odd because his head's just at a tilt for some reason. His head's just on a side angle. But the Soul Scryer, I have to say, the Ideneth that they put in there, like as an Ideneth player, that is so much better than the normal Soul Scryer. It's not even funny how good it is. But it's the same as when they did the Soul Render. Like when they did the Shang Tsung Soul Render from Ilithanes? The Soul Raid, the Underworld's Warband. They did the new Soul Render model with the 2 mini hooks instead of the mega hook, and it was really cool. And again, here they've done this Soul Scryer, who looks really good. It's like every time they need to make a unique named character version of a model, they do it 100 times better. Same with the Sniper, like the Vanguard Raptor, as I assume she is with her Ether Wing or whatever it is. Again, for a sniper character, that's a really good rendition of a sniper. A crossbow sniper anyway.
Yeah, agreed.
So yeah, good stuff there. What else have we got? Total War Warhammer is getting some DLC, which includes the Changeling, and some characters I don't recognise. A Kislevite witch called Mother Ostankia, and the Jade Dragon for Cathay. MetaWatch did its first article of the new edition, where we realised that Eldari was even more broken. It started to be coming down, but obviously this is taken both inclusive and exclusive of the Eldari nerf, so it counts the time when they were utterly broken. But Gene Stealer cults have got a 63% win rate, and then Tau have a 38% win rate, and it's like, fuck, ow. So, like, some armies are really overperforming in 10th, and a lot are actually underperforming, particularly Tau, Death Guard, Votan have all got a less than 40% win rate, which is really bad.
Fair enough.
Luckily, the Tau are getting a codex pretty soon, and for the love of God, it needs some good mod card rules, because the biggest whinge among Tau players is you can't play Farsight. You just give them Farsight in your miniature, and you have to play Cow Yon. So, Anyway, that's enough whinging. I've had that rant already.
And then they'll just go like, oh, you want new rules? Here's Monat.
The Arvis Lighter's back.
Is that an epic?
I believe it's an epic, yeah. Sorry. I believe it's an epic, yeah. And that's it, actually, as far as I can tell. There's a few bits and bobs, like there's fire support for the Solar Auxilia, a bit about how to use Night Lancers,
Fair enough.
talked a bit about there's a balanced data slate for Kill Team, and little bits and bobs, but nothing major.
News, no,
it's been a bit more of a quiet fortnight. As much as we've covered some pretty big stuff, it's been a bit of a quieter fortnight of news.
But fair enough. By the time this episode goes live, Realm Slayers Limited Edition would have gone on pre-order, if anyone's interested in that. You know, the one with the fucking most horrible fucking cover ever, because it's like, it has a very, very nice, like, fake leather spine, and then the front of it's just covered in red fabric with a bronze medallion, and the fabric just kills it. They should just cover the entire thing in leather vinyl wrap or whatever, you know, because the half and half just makes it look so cheap. And I guarantee that it's not going to be for fucking cheap. I guarantee that's going to be at least like 50 quid.
Oof.
And it looks so... Because that's part of the reason why I didn't bother getting the Minkalesk, or whatever, how you pronounce the name, you know, that new Cadian...
Minkalesk, yeah.
Minkalesk, yeah, I didn't get the limited edition for that because, firstly, I have the other two books of her series and none of them were limited edition. What's the point of having the third one limited edition? I don't know. But regardless, that limited edition was in that... the entire thing was in that horrible fabric. It's like, no. No, fuck that. Like, I'm not one of those guys who just buys, like, you know, limited editions willy-nilly. Like, because if they're going to be like the fabric ones, I'm not going to fucking touch them unless it's something I really, really want. Because, like, remember when Cadian Blood was re-released as a special edition, and now it's in the fucking fabric cover, and I'm like, no. I don't get how good the book is, no. And then they released the Calm the Betrayer novel, like, in the full leather wrap, and it's like, yes, I'll buy that, because that looks very nice.
Understandable.
Yeah. Because my first experience with that type of book cover was the Lucas the Trickster novel, which I think was the very first one to do it. And it was literally like the leather spine was lovely because it had that, you know, nice Nordic knotwork on it. But like the rest of the book was literally like holding a pair of jeans.
Ugh.
That's not even me being comedically hyperbolic. The fact that the cover of it is literally covered in like denim.
Yeah, I believe you.
And if you want to buy it on eBay, you can do so for £115.
If you are that mad of a bastard.
No one's that mad of a bastard. Like, again, I'm not even joking. It is literally blue fucking denim.
Oh God, yeah. Like
it's literally blue denim with paint on it.
Yeah, terrible.
Like if the entire thing was in like fake leather or vinyl or whatever you want to put it, you know, that would be really nice. It's the fact that it's the fabric ruins it because it feels so horrible in your hand, and because it's painted on, it's gonna flake like fuck.
Yep, pretty much. That's yeah, exactly.
It's still not as bad as the Indomitus limited edition because
no, they were shite. They were shite.
Yeah, like the paint is like flake off. Like I can't speak in regards to the Necron version, but the Space Marine version, the paint literally just rubs off. Because it's like, it's not even vinyl or fake leather, it's rubber.
Ugh. Just no. Just no. Don't do that again. Don't ever do that again.
To be honest, I don't think they have. Well, I think they might have done for the Leviathan limited edition, but I can't really tell because I didn't actually get a hold of that because it's so before I could get a hold of it in the queue.
Anyone who has one, let us know in the comments. Does it flake?
So,
But
does
anyway.
it flake? Will it burn?
Oh, definitely burn. But
Will
I've
it blend?
actually...
That's the one.
Speaking
Will
of
it blend?
books, I've actually managed to power through 2 books in the past couple of weeks.
Hooray!
Like I mentioned, I was going on holiday and I had a lot of time on a bus, so I managed to read both Dawn of Fire 5, The Iron Kingdom, and Dawn of Fire 6, The Martyr's Tomb.
Ooh.
So I got through both of those, which was very interesting in some ways. Admittedly, settling for what was 900 pages, according to my ebooks. But then again, it probably wasn't 900 pages. The books are not 900 pages long, I know that. But yeah, it was a lot. Do we need spoilers? I don't think Iron Kingdom does, but does Martyr's Tomb need spoilers?
I'd say Martyr's Tomb does, because that didn't come out that long ago. I think it only came out like...
A month?
If that.
Let's
Let's say spoiler warnings for Martyr's Tomb, but Iron Kingdom's fair game.
Dawn of Fire release date. No, I don't want... Dawn of Fire novel series. Here we go. So according to Lexicanum, The Iron Kingdom was released in February, so that's completely fair game because it's August.
Yeah, agreed.
And The Martyr's Tomb was released in June, so that's 2 months.
No, so that's fair game as well.
Okay, both fair game. All right, well, if you are someone who's keeping up with Dawn of Fire, please be warned, I'm going to talk about both of them a lot, probably for most of the next half an hour or more. So you have been warned. In
which case, would you like to start off doing one, and then I'll jump into the book I read, which I didn't get around to doing, the Gobbo's Demise?
Oh yeah, that'd be a good little levity to fit in the middle.
Yeah, we'll do that as a piss break match, so to speak.
So that works. So, right, The Iron Kingdom. This is actually a really good book if you've read Gate of Bones, because a lot of the characters recur, both on the Chaos side and the human side, but particularly on the Imperial side, because you pick up with Battle Group Praxis, the group that fought at Githalamor. In fact, we meet several characters again. We meet the survivors of Marshal Bohemond, and we also meet the Mordians, General Dvorgin and Trooper Kesh, and the Custodian, Vikellen. And Vikellen was also a major player, if I recall correctly. If he was the Custodian, he might have been a different Custodian, in the Wolf Time, though I think that might have been a different Custodian.
No, I think that was him. Because I quoted him, but I didn't pronounce his name as Vikellen, I pronounced him as Vishalan. Because of CH, so.
Yeah. However you prefer.
Because he was the one who went, speculation, if Gilliman was to turn on the Emperor, then the Space Wolves would be one of his first opponents. The history of the 10,000 of the 11th Legion is a reminder of that. Why would Gilliman be so keen to arm an obstacle to his ambition? The fact I can remember that quote verbatim is amazing.
So he's been in 2 books. And we get to meet some new characters as well. And it's set on the world of Kamidar, which is a night world. Kamidar.
Oh, we said Canada? It's like they're going to Canada? What?
Kamidar.
Right.
And Kamidar is where the night pilot, the princess who dies at the end of Gate of Bones on Githalamor, is from. So they're taking her home.
Right.
So observe funeral rites, but also get its resources. Because Battle Group Praxis has taken a bit of a beating, and they're also trying to create an element of what's called the Anaxian Line, which is sort of going to be a defensive point for the Indomitus Crusade, sort of like an anchor, because this place, this Ironhold Protectorate, has looked after itself for a long time and done bloody well, to the point that its atmosphere is basically surrounded by a ship graveyard. It's killed that much. So, yes. But the story follows several perspectives. You follow the Fleet Admiral Artemis, who's the leader of Battle Group Praxis, as well as Queen Orla of Kamidar, as well as also flicking to the Black Templars, who are led by... I've forgotten his bloody name because I've read 2 books. Anyway, Bohemond's successor, who refuses to become Marshal because he's irreplaceable, apparently, and who took the hand of the sort of Red Corsairs, word bearers Red Corsairs champion a couple of books ago. I've actually forgotten his name. And they're allied to Kamidar. They've sworn oaths to Kamidar to protect it. I think you can see where this is going. Yeah. So, firstly, to set up, we've also got a renegade knight, sort of a knight errant of a sundered house, knocking around on Kamidar, and the Queen wants him dead. Just park that. If you like, he was part of a house. The house has been... It's a sundered name for a sundered house, and he's sort of the last survivor.
Right. Sounds like it could be a free blade, yeah. I'll be honest, my knight knowledge is not the best, so...
I think you'd consider him a free blade, but he's a free blade that the Queen wants dead.
Right.
Anyway, so... There are two main threads running through here. One is the Imperium and Kamidar. The other is the Red Corsairs and the Black Templars. Because the Red Corsair Lord is on a mission for Abaddon. He's hunting a demon blade, and the Black Templar, which the Black Templars have in storage, and the Black Templars want his head.
Right.
So, yeah, lots of moving parts. To put a very long story very short, the return of the Imperium to Kamidar is frosty. Because the Imperium is trying to strip its resources and are not particularly being nice about it. And the Kamidarians have got their backs up. Because they're like, we can look after ourselves. This feels like an occupation. This is not a reunion with an ally who we've sworn fealty to. This is an occupation. That's how they take it. And whilst the Queen's brother is away hunting the Freeblade, the errant rogue knight, she welcomes the Imperial delegation with the second in command of the fleet, whose name I've also forgotten, and the Custodian, and the Sister of Silence, and Dvorgin and Kesh, and lots of Mordians and other guard elements. There's no Marines in this contingent. The only Marines in the whole novel, actually, are the ones in the other storyline, which are the Black Templars and the Red Corsairs. There's no Marines attached to this fleet at the moment. Or if there are, they're not mentioned anywhere. Oh, no, there are. Sorry, I'll tell a lie. There are Storm Reapers and Marines from Malevolent, actually.
Ooh.
A lot of Marines from Malevolent who are doing what
Arseholes?
Marines from Malevolent do.
Being assholes.
So, I'm jumping ahead to pretty much the end of Act 1. The Queen goes, nah, fuck off, and murders the entire delegation.
Oh.
Including the Custodian.
Oh.
Yeah, I think they had knights in the back of the armigers in the back of the hall, and they lanced him out.
Oh, dear.
However, she had a point, because the Sister of Silence, before she does anything, tries to assassinate her.
Oh, God.
So Artemis has planted assassins in the delegation, and rightly, arguably, she knows that, and tries to take the whole delegation out, and she does. General Dvorgin and Vikellen die. In fact, the only survivors are the Sister of Silence, who basically bounced off a refractor field, I know, and Kesh, that trooper.
Fake.
Well, she did. She attacked the Queen and hit a force field, which I'm assuming to be a refractor field.
I know what refractor fields are, but it's just... Oh, God. The only one who survives is the fucking failed assassin and the guardsman.
Now, there's a reason why the guardsman survives. Because this is a guardsman that fell down a pit of corpses on Gathalamor.
Oh, they're not going to reveal he's a perpetual, is he?
She is not a perpetual.
Oh, thank God for that.
However, she's surviving shit that she really shouldn't. And is doing robot. Shit that she really shouldn't be able to do.
Oh, living saint?
She doesn't think of it as miracles, but let's just say that the Sister of Silence tried to batter down a force field, failed, told the guardswoman to do it, and she did it in one punch.
Oh, right. This is going to be interesting.
Yeah, miracles, but she doesn't really want to believe in miracles.
Right. So either a living saint or just a very powerful psyker.
Not a psyker.
Not a psyker, okay.
Definitely not a psyker. Not in Mordia.
Mordian?
Just Mordian. Sorry, she's a Mordian sniper. A good one, to be clear, for not a psyker.
Right.
And she survives everything in the royal palace. She and the Sister of Silence infiltrate the palace and actually broadcast to the fleet because their Vox gets jammed by the Kamidarians, and they run the blockade and break out and unleash the Vox. The Sister of Silence dies holding them off, and Kesh doesn't, and is still alive at the end, despite being alone in the Vox chamber, face down by the the Royal Guard.
Right.
Yeah. She's probably a living saint. Probably, but she doesn't want to believe it.
And then we get the reveal as a surprise. It's actually Gilliman in disguise. I was like, stupid.
Oh, no, Gilliman has no idea who she is. Gilliman has no idea who she is. And crucially, they said that Gilliman will never be written from Gilliman's perspective. Nothing will.
I'm being facetious.
I know. Right, so the book carries on. There's war now between Kamidar and the Imperium. And Messinius shows up.
Oh.
And he voxes into the fleet commander and he goes, crack this, or I'm going to send a legion. An actual legion. Like a legion strength force of Astartes to crack it.
Oh.
He's willing to say, I'm going to put a legion together and crack this if you don't. Get it sorted.
Well, that's them told then, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Meanwhile, the Black Templars go to attack the Red Corsairs, fail, because they get ambushed, but they get back to Kamidar. And the Black Templars are caught in a very awkward position, because they've sworn oaths to Kamidar and to the Crusade, of course.
It's like 404 error, objective not found. What do we do?
So what they do, what they do is they go to the Queen and say, stop this, or I will not be back on my own. The champion, the leader of the Black Templars force says, you stop this, or I will choose the Imperium. Like, I will hold my oath to you right now, but I'm not going to fight for you. You stop this, because the Imperium comes first, kind of thing. He doesn't say it quite like that, but he makes it very clear.
Yeah.
Anyway, so, how does it all end? Because I think that's the only bit that most people are interested in. So, the Red Corsairs smash a, not a battle, but like a Titanic ship, like a freight ship into the Black Templars' fortress on the moon.
Mm.
And go for the blade, the demon blade. They've got some really interesting, they've got a possessed guy, and an apothecary and some other stuff going on. And they do succeed, sort of, because what he does, the Red Corsair's lord, is he pulls out his demon axe and smashes the demon blade.
Oh.
And this is the bit that actually is really interesting, because he only grabs a piece of it. And with that piece, he is able to escape decapitation by, and I quote, slicing a hole in reality.
Right. So basically he just...
And by walking through that hole in reality, he appears on the bridge of Artemis's Emperor-class battleship.
Yeah, so basically he pulled an Lanius Pius on us.
No. He pulled an athame out of his ass.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Because Lanius Pius had an athame and he used it to cut through reality to get to travel across the galaxy.
Yeah, but he didn't do it on purpose. He didn't mean to end up on Artemis's ship. He just did.
Oh, right, okay.
It wasn't planned. He just slashed with it, opened up a rift and ran. And it happened to pop up.
So when you said he didn't mean it, I thought you were talking about Pius.
Oh, no, I mean the Red Corsairs guy, sorry.
Right, my bad.
He uses it. He knows what it does. Because he does it. He slashes a hole. He either uses it to cut a hole or he blocks with it or whatever or something. And it cuts a hole in reality and escapes onto the ship of the Admiral. They kill the ship and they nick it because they're the Red Corsairs. That's what they do.
Yeah.
And the book ends on that plot line with him meeting with the Hand of Abaddon. All of them.
Ooh.
including Abby himself. And Abby ends on 3 words. Gather the rest.
Ominous. Dun, dun, dun.
So I think Abaddon is trying to put the Anathame blade back together.
Now, that would be interesting.
And Erebus is name dropped in that same sequence.
So that'd be interesting considering that I'm pretty sure, if I remember correctly, Cor Pharaon tried to assassinate Gilliman with an Anathame blade at some point. Or Athame, or whatever you want to call it.
He did. He absolutely did. Cor Pharaon is name dropped in that sequence too. But I think what Abaddon is doing, his sort of grand scheme at the moment, obviously they want Terra, but is to gather the Anathame from the shards and then kill Gilliman. I think that's the plan. And that's my speculation and mine alone. But I think that's what they're doing.
Fair enough.
As for the other side of things, it turned out that the equerry to the queen was a changeling. A demon.
I didn't hear a word of that, you just cut out. It turns out, demon.
The equerry to the queen, sort of her handmaiden, is a shape-shifting demon who played both sides off against each other. It doesn't say the changeling, but it's a changeling.
There's more than one changeling?
Well, it's something that it's a demon that can shapeshift. Doesn't necessarily have to be the changeling, but it's a demon that can take human form.
I'm going to assume it's a changeling, considering that's, his entire, shtick.
Yeah, and the demon, assassinates the queen, but is also playing the role of a priest that successfully turns the renegade knight to Hern by, drinking of blood and all of these things. It's corn by implication. And the book ends, his plot thread ends in, he was killed by the queen, he and the queen killed each other pretty much, but he wakes up on the Red Corsairs ship. So there's now a traitor knight household with the Red Corsairs as well as this Emperor-class battleship.
Right.
And that's the work of this demon priest, this demon who's taken the form of both their priest and also the queen's equerry.
Fair enough. For some reason, I was just reminded of Macbeth for some reason when he said, how goes the queen? The queen, my lord, is dead. She should have died hereafter. There would have been time for such a word. Tomorrow and tomorrow and tomorrow and blah, 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 all that.
Yeah. So that's how the conflict is resolved. Because obviously the brother of the queen is a lot more sensible. He suits for peace. The admiral's gone missing. So another bloke is drafted in and they set this up and they do all the things that they're going to do in the background. No one really cares at this point. But anyway.
Just like with the entire Dawn of Fire series. Hey! Sorry.
No, that's rude. But
yeah,
no, basically, frosty relationships fostered by demons causing a war between the Knight's world and the Imperial fleet. The Imperial was always going to win, and they were going to win, but this was just made even more obvious by all of this stuff. The Black Templars will be joined their side. The Marines Malevolent all died, by the way. They were all massacred. I think, actually, the Storm Reaper's captain killed one of them at the end because he was going to flamethrower an entire prisoner camp with prisoners in it.
Yeah, sounds like Marines Malevolent.
Yeah. So that was that. So, yeah, I've skipped over a lot because it was a lot of reading and I've read another book since. But it was well-paced and I didn't see the demon twist coming. And I didn't see the Athame twist coming. So, well-written Nick Kime.
Fair enough.
And now for something a little bit lighter.
I thought you were going to go, and now for something completely different.
Well, it's also completely different.
God, I haven't watched Monty Python in years. I need to go and watch that at some point. Maybe this weekend. But anyway, yes. The Gobbo's Demise. No spoiler warning, because that came out about a year ago now, probably at this point. I will say this from the get-go. It's a much better book than the other Red Gobbo book. I've forgotten the actual name of the previous one. What was the name of the previous Red Gobbo book?
I can't remember.
So the Gobbo's Revenge.
Yeah, that was it.
Yeah. Gobbo's Demise is much better than Gobbo's Revenge. I can't fucking talk. I blame the stress of having to deal with the fucking mortgage people today, but I digress. Anyway, so as a bit of a preface for its entire story, the story takes place on an Imperial world in where a Chaos Cult uprising has just taken place. So you got Imperial forces fighting against, forces of Chaos, and the Orcs have just decided to turn up because Orcs fought, good for shits and giggles, to be honest, as Orcs want to do. So we start off the story inside a cathedral dedicated to Sanguinius. Like big statues of Sanguinius all over the cathedral.
Oh, nice.
And we've got a group of Grots and a runt herd. The runt herd is dead. His head basically been exploded. Basically,
Classic.
he got shot by like a sniper's bullet inside the church. Convenient, yes.
Still classy.
Yep. And the Grots are like, is he dead? I think so. He's not moving.
Is he dead?
Yeah, they're poking him. It's like, is he dead? So most of the story is told from the perspective of a Grot called Red Snot, who's not the Red Gobbo. I should point out now. And he was like the runt herd's like favorite Grot. Well, not favorite, but least hated Grot, which by default makes him the favorite Grot. And he realizes now, because the runt herd's dead, the other Grots are going to start turning on each other, as Grots want to do, and his position of power will end up being challenged, which obviously he doesn't want to happen. So he basically tells the other Grots, right, come on then, let's get to it, lads. What do you mean? Well, the boss told us to, fortify our position. Yeah, but he's dead now. Yeah, and? Well, what are we supposed to do? Is like, we do what we're told until someone tells us to do something else. Okay. Yeah, he's dead. It doesn't matter for Grots. Now, one of the Grots is, forgotten his name. His name's like Gizzit. Gizzit. He's like the biggest Grot there. Like he like towers over the other Grots. So basically he's like a very, 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 very small orc. to put into perspective. He basically tries to assert his dominance because he ends up like, taking like the runt herd's gun, his big, his slugger. Yeah. And the other Grot's
carrying that.
Yeah, he's funny. Well, he's big. He's big enough. He can actually pick it up. He's big enough, but he does have to hold it in two hands. And it's like, yeah, I don't think you should do it. It's like, no, it's mine now. And it's like, well, he's not going to need it. He's dead.
True.
Like, yeah, but it's an orc's weapon. You can't have that. If another orc sees you with that, he's going to kick the shit out of you. Anyway, so they start like looking around and start looking for things to fortify with and all that. And Red Snot ends up going into like a hidden compartment of the church, like a safe room that's got all these like relics and all that, like a reliquary and all that.
Yeah.
And he hears whimpering, and he goes deeper, and there's a priest, a blind priest.
Right.
It's like Matthias, is that you? Oh, have the traitor forces have the heretic forces been driven off? And Red Snot's like, oh, it's Tanumi. I should probably just kill him. But then again, we need a boss, and he's got big fancy robes. I could use him as like a puppet, so use him as our quote unquote boss, but I give the orders. Yeah, we'll do that. And so he starts talking to the priest because Red Snot actually knows how to speak human. But the priest, being blind, doesn't see him as a Grot. He just knows he's short. It's like, your accent sounds very weird. Where are you from? It's like, oh, I'm from another world, innit? Oh, you're an abhuman. Yeah, we'll go with that. Kind of thing. So the priest ends up thinking like he's actually a halfling or ratling because of how short he is as well.
Yeah.
But anyway, we cut to some traitor forces outside the city, and they're led by like a traitor commissar, which is quite a rare thing, I find. Well, not that rare, because there's been at least 3 instances now. But anyway,
And they also have models for it, so yeah.
Yes, so it's still an interesting thing regardless.
Mm-hmm.
And he's in command of these, like, these cultist forces or whatever. And he's basically been approached by a figure known as, like, the Prophet or Prophetess. Excuse me.
Mm-hmm.
Because basically she's acting as, like, a liaison between his forces and the word bearers who instigated the uprising.
As usual.
And she says, right, the word bearers want you to go to the church in the city and desecrate it. Don't destroy it, desecrate it.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll do what I want because, like, you know, I used to be a commissar, so I can control my men, and I'll do what I want. I'll do it to impress the warbird, and I'll get made into warbird myself. And she's like, "Yeah, good luck with that." So the commissar sends he looks around for his cultists, and he finds one. It's like, "You there? Oh yes, yeah, you. You used to pray at that temple, didn't you?" "I did." "Right, you have point then. You're going to lead the assault." "What?" "Yeah, and Grizzle's squad's going to give you support." Grizzle is the name of this one cultist who's a fucking brick shithouse, because basically he used to be this really runty guy, but the forces of chaos, the chaos powers have started, you know, blessing him, so now he's like this really huge hulking bloke who's basically turning into like some kind of weird beast man, essentially. He just grunts and snarls and screams.
God.
Yeah. And the other chaos cultists like, "It's not fair. Why does he get all the blessings?" Kind of things like, I want to be a blessing, but no, I just have fingers coming out my eyebrows. You know, because mutations got to mutate. So the chaos cultists end up going to the church, and the grots inside, they like try to board up, you know, the doors as they were instructed to do so, and. Some of the cultists try and get in, like they like smash some holes in the glass, whatever, and the grots are like, "Ooh, gonna have a fight. Where's our gun? We've got guns, sticks, stones. Yeah, we'll just use anything." One of the cultists are like peeking through a hole made in, like, you know, from smashing the glass, and one of the grots just literally just pokes him in the eye and takes his eye out with his claw.
Right.
And that's the guy. There was the guy. The commissar told him to, like, "Oh, you have point. You're leading the assault." It's like, "Hey, he's taking my eye. He's taking my eye." And Grizzle just screams like, "Arr!" One of the grots. Oh no, sorry. Before that, the grots are having an argument, and Gizzet ended up like firing the Runherd's gun at Red Snot. But the recoil was so immense, he ended up being flying. The bullet ended up going out through the door and basically hitting Grizzle right through the chest, blowing a massive hole in it. And Grizzle just looks down and goes, "Oh," and falls down. But he gets back up a few minutes later. Basically, the wound has now turned into like this giant gaping mouth. He's basically gained about 50 pounds of muscle mass and just turned very angry. And around the bullet where the shrapnel holes have been from, like, you know, the impact, they've all turned to eyeballs as well now. So basically, he's turning into like a full-blown chaos spawn at this point. And now Grizzle's basically just literally smashing, you know, open the doors like with his bare fists. And Redson's like, right. Oh, there's that oil for the candles. Right. Let's pour oil everywhere. You know, I think you know where this was going. Oil everywhere, and they like even grease up stairs with oil as well, and lace the banisters with broken glass.
Oh God.
Yeah, and they end up like retreating up the stairs, whatever. While doing that, the Chaos Cultists are smashing their way through the door, and, you know, huge fight breaks out. There's some gunshots, whatever. There's fire, boom, everything catches fire. The best bit in the entire book, the best line of dialogue in the entire book, as everything's being wrecked, the priest is shouting, it's like, "You fools, you're destroying everything!" And Redsnot's like, "Nah, that'll be the fire, mate."
God.
Best bit of dialogue in the entire story.
Dear.
As this happens, the red Gobbo ends up showing up. He's like swinging through a stained glass window, and he starts shooting some people, you know, fucking action hero style.
Right.
And it turns out he's actually got a rattling sniper rifle, and he's shooting things like bang, 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 bang.
Go Gobbo.
Yeah. The Chaos Cultists end up having to retreat from fucking grots.
Well, that's embarrassing.
It is embarrassing. And the Red Gobbo introduced himself to the other grots like, "Right, I'm the Red Gobbo, innit?" kind of thing. He's like, "Right, so is that Umi your boss?" He's like, "Oh, no, he's my slave." "Is he?" So the Red Gobbo turns to the priest and says, "Oi, is it true you're his slave?" Because he speaks human as well. And the priest's like, "What? Slave? What?" And Gobbo just shoots him. Bang. It's like, "Yeah, don't bullshit me, mate. I can speak Umi as well."
Good try.
Yeah, good try. But yeah, they realise that the Chaos Guards, they're going to come back for another assault, so they start like laying more traps and stuff like that.
As you would.
The cultists return back to the commissar. The commissar's like, why the hell is the church on fire? I told you not to destroy it, just to desecrate it. Oh, we were attacked. You were attacked? I see you're missing an eye, so you clearly been in a fight. Who attacked you? Was it the Imperial Guard? No, it was orcs. Oh, fuck. But he doesn't realise that it was actually grots.
Embarrassing.
Yeah. So he ends up like leading us for like the rest of the cultists there, and he ends up like getting his like his binoculars, whatever, and he's looking through, and he sees like the grots on the roof, and goes, right, you said these were orcs, yeah? Yeah. Can you describe these orcs? Yeah, they were green and they had big teeth. Mm-hmm. Yeah, those are grots. Those are like literally like the lowliest of the low when it comes to orcoids. You were basically beaten up by fucking children.
Well, yeah, it's true.
Yeah. Anyway, so the commissar says, right, it's only fucking grots. Go in there and fucking get them. Right? And get the priest as well while you're at it, because we can use them for like a sacrifice to the Chaos Gods.
Obviously not aware that said priest is.
Obviously not aware, yeah. So as the Chaos Gods move in, the grots end up setting off one of their traps, and it's all the candle wax. And it basically just pours down, covering the entire room with candle wax, like molten candle wax.
Right.
Yeah, so basically a whole bunch of cultists are like having like parts of their flesh melted off, and they're literally just stuck fast in the rapidly cooling wax and stuff like that. And the commissar's like, oh, for fuck's sake, it's only fucking grots. Right, so it's, right, get me Power Fist. Clank, right, I'm going to do this my fucking self.
About right.
Yeah. So basically, like, any cultist that's stuck in the wax, he literally just punches them to death with his Power Fist. Bang, 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 bang. And the grots are like, yeah, we got to get out of here. Up to the roof. But Red Gobbo, there's something wrong with him that only Red Snot notices. And that's the fact that the Red Gobbo has been shot.
Oh, shit.
But none of the other Gobbos notice. But Red Snot notices that, every time the Gobbo moves his coat, he can see blood, and the Red Gobbo's skin's slowly getting greyer and greyer. Because he's bleeding out slowly.
Oh, dear.
Yeah. So there's some discussions about who's the brainiest and all that, blah, 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 blah. And they end up setting some more traps, but they also end up start planning an escape route. I was like, well, how are we going to get out of here? Well, there's another building over there, and we have this big spiky thing we can use to just make it like a makeshift zip line thing. Yeah, we'll do that. Fuck it. So as that's happening, Chaos Cults are trying to climb up the stairs, and they're slipping on the greased up stairs, and they're cutting themselves on the broken glass. That's all on the banister. But the commissar's just smashing it all with his Power Fist, because Power Fist got a Power Fist. And he's like, right, go on, you bastards, get up there. So they start climbing up the ladder, and the grots end up dropping this massive cathedral bell on top of them. Bong! About 3 cultists end up being squashed, just jellied. So the commissar looks at that and goes, well, the rest of you survived. That's favour from the Chaos Gods. Go up there, then. It's like, oh, okay. kind of thing. Meanwhile, while this is happening, Resonance managed to convince one of the other grots to basically go into the Prometheum stores of the cathedral and basically effectively overload the boilers. All right, this entire cathedral is going to explode in time. This is why I always need to escape, because there's pipes everywhere, so basically crawling through the pipes. But anyway, the grots start ziplining out of here one by one, and before Red Snot goes, the Red Gobbo tells him, says, right, well, you're clearly the smartest one here. You know I'm dying, but the grots are going to need a figure to inspire them, innit? What do you mean? For the revolution. Oh yeah, what about the revolution? I am the revolution, and now you're the revolution. By the way, here's your goggles, here's the coat, here's the gun. You're now the Gobbo.
Well, that was easy.
Pretty much, yeah. So Red Snort, now Red Gobbo, he ends up ziplining. Well, the original Red Gobbo just dies. And the other Grot's like, oh, what happened to Red Snort? Oh, he gave his life to the glory of the revolution. What happened to your voice? You sound very familiar. I got a cold, innit?
I got a cold. Jesus.
Yeah. But meanwhile, as this is all happening, they notice some orcs have turned up as well, and they're fighting against Chaos Guards. Like, right, eyes a plan, lads. You see that unguarded truck there? You know, it's got those just 2 orc boys and a couple of grots there. Pew, pew. Kills the 2 orcs with headshots from his new sniper rifle. Right, we're going to nick that truck. We're going to take those guys in for the glory of the revolution. Come on, lads, let's go. Viva Las Vegas. All that.
Oh, for God's sake.
Yes. And they ride off into the sunset at the end.
Well, I mean, yeah, it was definitely a Red Gobbo novel with all the comedy that entails.
Yeah. It's a much, much better story than the Gobbo's Revenge. Gobbo's Revenge was very whereas this book was just fun. That's the best way to describe it. It was fun. It was stupid in places, but it was fun. And that's what matters. It was fun. It didn't take itself too seriously. Oh, I forgot to mention last bit in regarding the commissars. He climbed up to the top of the ladder before Red Snot and the Gobbo, escaped, whatever. He ends up getting knocked off the roof of the cathedral, and as he falls to his death, he gets impaled on a sword of Sanguinius statue.
Nice.
And the other grots are like, is he meant to do that? It's like, I'm pretty sure they do, because those zoomies, they like that. Those zoomies like their spiky bits, don't they? So, why do you think he does that? Oh, he does it to impress them gods, innit? Bit silly, innit? Yeah. If you want to impress the gods, you just punch someone.
A lot silly.
So yeah, the Gobbo's Revenge. It's very silly. It's very funny. I recommend it.
Good. Always good to have recommendations that aren't quite as heavy.
Yes. And it's quite a short book as well. Like, I'll be honest, I'm actually surprised I managed to talk through it as in a short time as I did. It's been about 20 minutes or so. So, yeah. I thought it was going to take a little bit longer because of how much I actually went through. But again, I'm probably missing 1 or 2 key details considering it has been a couple of weeks now. So, but, it is what it is.
Yeah.
So now we're going to the next Dawn of Fire book.
Yes. So, The Martyr's Tomb. I literally finished this 5 hours ago. So, this is fresh in my head. It has zero connection, well, almost zero connection to anything that came before, with the exception of following along with Katla Helvinter, who I believe was a rogue...
from the, from Void King. The Void King novel from Mark Collins.
Yes, so this is written by Mark Collins. So yes, that's where she's from. I knew I recognised the name, but I was like, why do I recognise her name? Because I don't think she's come up in Dawn of Fire.
No, she remember when I talked about Void King?
Yes.
And she got resurrected at the end of it.
Right, yes. Okay, so yes, her.
The Fenrisian necromantic bullshit, yeah.
Yes, so she's a major player. So, here's where we stand. This is set after the events on Kamadar, though it only mentions it in passing of an astropathic communication mentioning a kingdom of iron crumbling, or something like that. So, nothing much. So, it's set in a string of 7 shrine worlds, the Golden Chain. And 6 of them have already fallen. We're on the 7th one. It's called Velua or Velua, or however you prefer to pronounce it. And we've got some Titans. We've got some Black Templars with an Empress Champion, an Ancient Dreadnought. We've got the Sisters of the Order of Our Martyred Lady. We've got Savalok Chemdogs. And we've got the Veluan Hoplites, the Native Planetary Defence Force. And they are arrayed against a Nurgle cult, as you probably would have noticed by the fact that there are 7 worlds. Now, initially, they're just fighting the Chaos Cult and doing just fine. Waiting in the wings, however, is one of the Hand of Abaddon, Gromulus Tool.
Gromulus Tool?
Tuul. I don't quite know how to say it. I've called him Tool because it's easier for me.
Question. Is he a bit of a tool, though?
He is a pilgrim. He travels around and he does shit. Is he a tool? No, not by Death Guard standards. He's actually, So he's
pretty chill by Death Guard standards.
Yeah. He's not completely boring, and he will have banter with his subordinates as they walk into battle, kind of thing. So that's more his subordinates do that. There's two of them who just have a chat whilst they're massacring through humans, because obviously. So we're sort of following primarily the defense of Valua through the eyes of Canoness Irinia and Champion Geheris of the Black Templars. As well as separately, we've got Helvinter, who has been tasked by Gilliman with finding a way into Imperium Nihilus. So this is set before the Nachmund Gauntlet.
Right.
And they're not doing very well at it because they know about the betrayal. I think that's what Void King's all about. There's a big betrayal. I assume. Am I remembering that right? Am I remembering that right? I don't know because was there some a lot of the Imperial, they were part of a group and then a lot of them seem to have turned on each other, and Helvint is one of the few that survived and remained loyal, kind of thing. Seems to be how they've set her up.
Yeah, one of the rogue trader groups ended up being infiltrated by a Gene Stealer cult.
Yes, it mentions Gene Stealers, so yeah, that's about right. So it's after that, basically. So, Irinia is based, Valua is actually the tomb of a sister superior who was sort of her sister superior. Why can I never remember anybody's name? So she's the martyr whose tomb they're fighting on, if you like, because they're both from this world. She's got a really weird name. It's got like an OE in it, but anyway, it doesn't matter. And she's constantly feeling ashamed about it and why did she die? And I wasn't good enough and all of this. And that's something she struggles with throughout the book. Meanwhile, Geheris is an Emperor's Champion, doing Emperor's Champion things. And they're actually doing fine. They're leading the defense. They're doing well. They're driving back the cultists. We follow a bit with the cultist priests as well, who are just keep going. We're not getting anywhere, but keep going kind of thing. Because he's in communication with Tool and is one day our salvation will come. We will be victorious here and consecrated for the grandfather and all of this and yada, yada, yada. So, there's a demonic assault at one point. The cultists do big sacrificey thingies and summon a pile of demons. And the Black Templars and the Sisters drive them back. And eventually, Geheris gets a vision because he's the Emperor's Champion. And that vision is of a figure on a flaming throne with eight thrones, and there's a figure on the central one and it's on fire, and a she-wolf. And he takes that as right, we're leaving.
I think we know who the she-wolf's going to be.
Yes, yes, it's pretty clear. But he leaves with no idea where he's going. He just leaves and takes the entire Black Templar contingent on Valua with him. Minus the Dreadnought, because the Dreadnought's this is not honourable. I'm staying.
And because he's a Dreadnought, no one's going to bother arguing with him.
No, he's actually a Dreadnought with a sword. He was a sword brethren who died and actually demanded when he got Dreadnoughted, make me a fucking sword. And so he has a sword. Anyway, so then things on Valua start going south. Because the Black Templars leave and the Death Guard arrive.
Right.
The Titans sally out, sacrifice themselves. The Sisters set traps, sacrifice. The Savlar laying traps and ambush points, choke points, fighting in the undercrofts. Lots of martyrdom. That's the common theme throughout the book. And the very well-known phrase, the blood of martyrs is the seed of the Imperium, I think is said about 25 times throughout the book.
Take a shot.
Take a shot, yeah. Meanwhile, Helvinter is being dogged by Tool and his fleet, and they keep following them as they limp through the warp and place to place, trying to find a crack and get themselves across into Imperium Nihilus. And they find this place that maybe is going to work, and they're constantly, the navigators and the tech priests are just constantly trying to calibrate their cartographical data because, the warp is fucking with everything. They were fine at one point, and then they assaulted what looked to be a derelict pilgrim ship. Turned out it was full of plague zombies. So, yeah, that was a mistake. And that was what got the Death Guard hunting them.
Right.
But as they're setting up for a showdown, shock horror, Geheris arrives, and the Black Templars come to reinforce Helvinter as they fight the Death Guard. They're still outnumbered, they're still going to die, but they're going to try. It's also worth noting there is a custodian on Helvinter's ship, Augustus his name is, and he was
Where did he come from?
I don't know, he was part of a torchbearer fleet, and now he's just sort of assigned himself as Helvinter's bodyguard because he thinks that's what he believes that's his duty. He guards the palace, this is his new palace to guard. Kind of thing, because he thinks Helvinter's important, and she clearly is. So no, his introduction of how he got onto Helvinter's ship is completely unexplained.
Right. If there is actually a short story that explains that and someone's actually read it, please let us know in the comments.
Yeah, or I missed something because I was skim reading, I don't know. So, Velua basically is about to fall. They're fighting in the martyrs, the literal martyrs' tomb now. They're on their last line, fighting to the last, killing. The Death Guard are dying, but not fast enough because they're the Death Guard. They never die quick enough. And basically, Irinia is defeated by the Death Guard champion who's there. It's not Tool. I've forgotten his name now. And he goes to stab her, and suddenly cut to vision.
Oh.
Irinia sees the vision of the martyr's death, and they have a conversation, soul to soul kind of thing, and suddenly she's alive. No, it's not going where you think it's going. Ablaze with fire, nothing can stand against it, and it just gives like a martyrdom crusade of the defenders of Velua, and they actually rout the Death Guard off screen. They rout and save Velua off screen.
Oh, typical.
She pops back up, she goes on a murder spree, and she's just whipping the whole army up, what's left of it, into a frenzy, and they drive the Force of Chaos back. Now, it's worth noting, she's not a living saint, she's not done any of that bollocks. She is basically living on borrowed time. And I think it's put later that they were spared from their appointed hour so that they could fight and die at the proper time in the Emperor's service.
Right.
Which happens to be Deus Ex Machina-ing behind the Black Templars about at their darkest hour, as Helvinter and the Black Templars are embroiled with the Death Guard fleet. Tool is fighting the Emperor's champion, and a neophyte who was on Helvinter's ship sort of as a liaison while the champion was back with his ship. And he says to Anarin, the neophyte, "Here, take the black sword from me. I am going to die here. Get this back to the chapter. Run." So he actually gives up the black sword. He's still the Emperor's champion, but he gives up the black sword when it's just the two of them left and says, "Run. Get it back to the chapter. Don't let it fall into the wrong hands." So he's fighting Tool with a chainsword and a power sword that he picked up. And he's doing okay, but he is losing. And then Helvinter's ship fires a harpoon through the ceiling.
A harpoon?
Harpoon.
Obviously, harpoons, I'll just shoot a car attached with a chain. Boom.
No, a harpoon through the ceiling.
I swear you said harpoon.
And they basically both die. Tool and Geheris both die. And then the Martyr fleet shows up.
Right.
And the ship that Irinia is on basically rams Tool's flagship, causing it to go thermonuclear, or whatever we're calling it. Oh, I forgot to mention in the Iron Kingdom, Kamadar nukes the Imperial fleet. I forgot that bit.
Oh.
Yeah, they fired what's called an atomic and a chunk of the fleet just disappeared. I forgot that. I forgot they had nukes. So yes, they used a nuke on the Imperial fleet in that book.
Well, there you go.
A space nuke, probably would have been an Exterminatus level nuke because it blew up and just atomized about 5 battleships.
Fair enough.
So anyway, Irinia's ship plows into the Pilgrim ship, blows it up, and takes half the fleet with it. And basically, she's just laughing and smiling and just going to her death as her martyr's tomb. Now, she's the martyr, and her tomb will be her ship as it blows up, saving Helvinter and what's left of her fleet from the Death Guard.
Right.
And they finished their investigation of this region, and it's a Blackstone thing, because it talks about a black thing that looks basically into the tech priest's soul. There's sparks of green lightning frying machinery, and then the tech priest dies. And this, what's called the Attilan Gate, seemingly powered by blood and faith to keep it open, may prove an unstable route through the rift. Maybe. And that's sort of where the story ends off. And Aenerin and Helvinter, who both survived because Aenerin got back to the battle barge before everything went thermonuclear, says, I'm going to stay with you. Aenerin's like, we're going to go see Guilliman and deliver this message in person. And Aenerin's like, I will stay with you until you've done this. The custodian guarded you up to now, and the champion trusted me with this. I'm going to look after you. And he keeps the black sword for himself. And he's still, he's an initiate. So he's become an initiate mid-fight. He's crowned by the champion as an initiate instead of a neophyte. And he just sort of keeps the black sword for himself. With permission, I'm sure, but he's the only one left standing. So,
yeah,
he keeps that and stays with Helvinter, and they're going to go see Guilliman by the sounds of it.
Fair enough.
So, yeah, it's one of those of, all hope is lost and despair. And actually, there's a really cool bit that there's a subplot where the colonel of the Veluan Hoplites deserts at the start of the book, at the end of chapter 1, and then is found at the end of part 1 and becomes a penitent engine.
I see.
And you actually get to sort of get a bit of an inside view of a penitent engine and the mind of what happens to you while you're in a penitent engine for about a chapter. And then he dies, obviously.
Yeah.
So that was quite nice. That was a nice little subplot thrown in there. It was very disconnected from the rest of Dawn of Fire, completely disconnected. Helvinter is a Mark Collins creation, not a Dawn of Fire creation. And I think it sort of shows that a lot of the authors have got a brief of, we're doing this plot and you can create your characters, do what you want with them, because Nick Kime, I think, wrote Gate of Bones and has just carried on writing with those characters and just carried that plot thread through. And I'm sure he got permission from Guy, who's the lead author, and Nick's the secondary author, to use Basinius for 5 minutes and all of that. But it's very interesting, sort of, it seems like each author's got their own plot that they're following within the Dawn of Fire thing. Sort of like they did in Heresy, really, where each author had their own thing that they wrote and followed their characters through.
Mm.
And because this is Mark Collins' first one, he's used one of his characters and tied them into the Dawn of Fire sort of setup.
Yeah.
But no, it was good. I did read it very quickly. I read it in the span of 4 days in stints, and it did keep me going. I was interested. There wasn't the same sort of twisty reveals like the Athame or Shapeshifter, and whilst the Martyrdom Fleet thing felt very Deus Ex Machina, I think that's the point. It's the God Emperor in the machine kind of thing. This book is all about faith, sacrifice, martyrdom. That's what this book is about, pretty much, from the Imperial perspective anyway. So it kind of makes sense.
Yeah.
But no, it was good. And I've thoroughly enjoyed reading both of them. I'll be glad of a break of them, though. I'm glad I don't have a third one to read. I think next on my list is, I'll mark that finished. I've achieved my yearly reading goal. That's good. I think I'm going to go down the AOS route for a bit, and I want to read Children of Teclis, I think, or God Eater's Son, or I'll read Bright Slayer and read the next Go Trek book. I don't know. I'll make a decision, and then I'll get on to the Warhammer Crime one down the line, and I just want something a bit different.
Yeah. Fair enough. Right.
So yes, that's where we stand.
Yes. Right. Do we have any questions?
Lots of comments about ebooks versus audiobooks. Here we go. Yes, there's a couple. So, if the Alfarius novel is to be believed, which I know it's the Alfarius novel, what do you believe the effect of Alfarius being around for the conception of his legion was on his marines? You know, because a lot of the legions were incomplete or made from leftover gene stock, whereas Alfarius is believed to have been around when the Alpha Legion were made. What effects might that have had?
I think the main effect would be probably just, well, in regards to the gene seed, they just had the effect of like they had better access to pure stocks of his gene seed because they can just draw straight from the source from the get-go if need be. Because remember with the Emperor's Children, they had the Blight and they were fucked until they were reunited with Fulgrim. So
yes, and it would also give them a better sense of cohesion because their tactics wouldn't change. Like Russ re-sculpted the route, and Magnus had to re-sculpt the Thousand Suns and many others.
Corax.
Whereas
I think Corax is one of the most extreme because he went from like, you know, his legion went from terror troops to guerrilla warfare, didn't he? So
something like that, yeah. So yeah, there were lots of sweeping reforms, but they didn't need that because the Primarch was there from day one.
But just remember the very last words of the Alfarius novel: "I am Alfarius, and that was a lie."
Indeed.
So just bear that in mind.
Right. Okay. Another commenter says, apparently, Grey Knights become nulls to watch over the tombs where their dead are interred. True or false?
The ferryman, yeah.
Are there any other examples of this, or individuals becoming psychers or nulls as like their life goes on?
There was a couple mentioned in. There was at least one mentioned in. I think it was The Emperor's Gift.
I've read that book and I've forgotten that detail.
There was one ferryman he talks to, and they point out how he was a blank.
Yeah, that might be the source that this person's referring to.
It's been a very, very, very long time. I did anything in regards to that book, so I may be misremembering, but I'm pretty sure it's Emperor's Gift. Yeah,
it probably is, but yeah, it's an interesting idea. I don't know how a Grey Knight would turn themselves into a blank.
Well, do you remember in the Angron novel, in the final fight between Angron and the Grey Knight Librarian, and just before Angron killed him, and the Grey Knight Librarian literally yeeted his own soul out of his body?
That sounds about right, though I had forgotten it.
Yeah, because that happened. He yeeted the soul out of his body, basically cast his soul back to Titan. So I imagine if the Grey Knight Librarian can literally expel their own soul from their body, I'm pretty sure that's how a ferryman's made. Like, you're now a ferryman, okay, yeet. I'm now a blank.
That makes sense. That makes sense.
Yeah.
Right. Question for me. With the new Cities of Sigmar release, how would you kit bash a City of Nagash army? Like, mortals who willingly serve Nagash in hopes of a favourable afterlife. You wouldn't have to try all that hard. Like, just more skulls, more bones, remove the Sigmarite stuff and replace it with Nagashian symbols using Ossiarch shields or Soulblight Gravelords pieces. It probably wouldn't be that difficult because they've already got quite a morbid thing going on in many ways, and you just need to change, like, you'd want to kit bash the Manticore Lord to be like a zombie dragon or something a bit more zombie-like.
Well, in fairness, with the Manticore, you can just say it's a tribute to Dieter Hellschnitt, the necromancer on a Manticore. Just say that. It's a tribute to that.
Yeah, that would work. Obviously, the new Pontifex is perfect because literally got a skeleton on the back. So that works. You wouldn't have to try that hard. It's mostly just about removing the iconography and changing the iconography over because, like, serving Nagash doesn't really care for the fancy details. It would just be about removing the Sigmarite stuff, and they'd wear more robes and bones and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Nothing much. Question regarding we had a big argument last episode about the HUD, right?
Yes. Because there's something else I forgot to mention that further adds to the bullshit. So when you have enough HUD congregating together, and this was pointed out in one of the Imperial Armor books, if I recall correctly, because it was in regards to their encounter with the Star Phantoms chapter. So when enough HUD congregate together, their entropic field starts affecting the very laws of reality. Not in the way that the warp does, but basically, like, if you're in that field, or anywhere near the field, when enough are together, your body will be bent at unnatural angles, or you will literally become fused with the walls or the floor or with anything nearby. It's basically like, you know that MC Escher painting with all the stairs coming out of like at different angles and all that?
Yeah,
that's basically what happens when the Hrud are in a large enough group.
Right, because the person argues that the entropic field of the Hrud is it consciously manifested and thus stops when they die, or is it something
I'm pretty sure it's a passive ability.
But if they're not alive, then how can it be a thing if they've got no biological function to create it? Even if it's not conscious.
Well, that's a fair point. Like, you know, if you kill enough of them, then the field will weaken. But again, I reiterate my point I made just now.
I know.
So basically, like, I'm a custodian swordmaster in front of 50 Hrud. Oh no, now my arms are at a right angle coming out of my spine, and now I'm actually melting into the floor. Like, again, it's not a psychic ability, so, you know, their resistance to warp abilities, whatever, will mean jack shit, because it's not warp related.
Yeah.
Anyway, next question.
Right. Can Tyranids within the same hive fleet, or strain or whatever, have individual colours? So, for example, having the Gaunts be a different colour to the Tyranid warriors within the same swarm?
I mean, you can paint them however you want, to be honest, but I think lore-wise they are meant to be, like, in the same army, they're meant to have, like, you know, similar, at the very least, similar colour schemes, at the very least.
Yeah, there might be, like, small variations, but it wouldn't be much.
Yeah. But again, like, if you're thinking about, you know, painting an army, paint it however you want, to be honest. Like, if you want hot pink termagants or whatever, you know, or turquoise, you know, warriors, just do what you want. Make a Vaporwave Nid army. There you go.
Yeah,
Vaporwave
fair.
Nids.
Right. Okay. Do you think Constantine Valdor will return? Because apparently there's a spoiler underneath in the Beckwin novels that apparently Valdor might be back.
I've not read the Beckwin novels, so I can't confirm either way. To be honest, I hope not. It's like, stop bringing characters back from Horus Heresy. Just let them remain in the Horus Heresy.
Yeah, because according to this, and obviously we'll need to read the Beckwin book to verify, apparently there's some confirmation that a cult following a so-called King in Yellow, and the king is actually Valdor making an army trying to find the Emperor's true name.
Again,
now that's third party. That's not someone who's read the book. They're telling us that
of course,
second hand.
Again, I stop bringing characters back from Horus Heresy, because if Constantine Valdor comes back and say, "Hey, welcome back, Constantine Valdor. Trajan Valoris is now completely fucking obsolete."
Indeed. And there's the exact problem.
Exactly.
Right.
Because you can even argue, like, you know, when Gilliman came back and Manius Calgar, they had to Primarify him to make him, you know, relevant.
Yeah.
Let's be honest.
Right. Okay, there's a question here, and this person's been a very long comment, because they think they have something worthy of an analysis. And I think we've answered it before. How far does the warp go?
It's literally described as another plane of reality, so as far as reality, I imagine, just in a different plane.
Yeah, the sort of follow-up then is, why haven't there been attempts at intergalactic travel in that case, since, you know... why is it that the Chaos Gods aren't doing it? Why is it that humans haven't gone past the galactic edge? I know, obviously, it'd be a long way to go and it would probably kill you because it's too far, but, you know...
The point is, has there been any need to?
No.
So that'll be the reason why it's not been done. Because it's not been needed. The galaxy alone is a huge place. And regardless of, like, you know, even how quickly, you know, warp travel can be, like, you can go from one end of the galaxy to another in, like, you know, a matter of months, you know, if that. But traveling from another galaxy to another, that's a whole other issue. Because what's the nearest galaxy is Andromeda, isn't it?
Yes.
Right.
Now, even when Mass Effect played bullshit, it still took them
Yeah.
like
Okay.
60 years to do.
So, the Andromeda Galaxy is approximately 2.5 million light years away. So basically, if you're traveling at the speed of light, it will take you 2.5 million years to get there.
Yes. Now, obviously, if we're talking about the scale of FTL, let's just do for the sake of argument, let's do a rough diameter of the Milky Way in light years. Let's just throw it out there. That's about 100,000 light years across. So if we assume that you can cross from one end of the Milky Way to the other in, let's call it 3 months, that means you're traveling at 33,000 light years a month, meaning that if you're traveling, what was it? 2 million?
2.5 million. 2.5 million.
2.5 million over 33,000. Well, it's, actually, hang on a minute. I need to do that on a calculator. Hang on. 2.5 million. Divide by 33,000. It will take you 75 years to do.
Yeah, you wouldn't be able to reach it in time.
Yeah. Humans obviously live a lot longer than that these days. The Horus Heresy in 40k because of injections and space marines exist and all of that, which is where they even needed to bother. But it's also worth noting that the further you go, the less Astronomicon there is. And it's also worth noting that the further you go, the less stable the warp will be because a lot of its stabilization comes from, well, things like the Astronomicon and things like that. The further you go, the more tumultuous it gets. And that's not even counting anything to do with the Cicatrix Maledictum. And it also assumes you're going in the right direction. Because, if you're aiming at a dot, and you're aiming at a dot, if you're off by so much as 1 arc second, that 1 arc second, you're going to fucking miss. By a lot. So, even if you could do it, you'd be firing blind, and we know how unreliable warp travel is. You'd miss. You'd just straight up miss.
Yeah. Now, we know the Orcs did get outside of the galaxy, but we don't know exactly how far. We just know that a probe from, the 20th century left the galaxy, then came back in, 40k, and the only thing it recorded was Orcs.
Yeah, and we do know the Tyranids came from somewhere else, whether it be deep space, another galaxy, whatever.
And it took them 10,000 years to get to the Milky Way, so...
Yeah, and that's from wherever they were. That wasn't they were in the middle of a harvest and just decided to dip.
That was literally in the void between galaxies.
Yeah, and it took them... Now, obviously, they're not travelling at FTL speeds because they can't. The Tyranids aren't that fast. Generally speaking, I know they can be, but Tyranid ships are not that fast. No. So,
and the thing is, we don't know how far away from the galaxy they were to begin with. They could have been just for all we know, they could have just been about 10 light years outside of the galaxy. For all we know, we don't know.
Yeah, we know they could see it, and they saw it pretty quickly. Obviously, the beacon at Sofa went off, and we don't know how...
a microsecond or something. It was beep, and it's ooh, light.
Yeah, but obviously, how long did that light take to get there? If it took a year to get there, then they were a light year away. I know it was a warp beacon and a physical beacon. I know it wasn't just actual light; it was warp light as well. But by the same token,
Deus Ex Machina.
Yeah. So basically, bullshit is many of it. So it's not because the warp is stopped at the edge of the Milky Way galaxy. I think it does raise one pertinent question though that they do raise, which I do want to pick up, is the fact that the Chaos Gods, if the warp spans all of creation, which it theoretically should, why is it then that the Chaos Gods, who rule the warp, as we understand it, and I'm going to stress that there, are created purely from, events that happen in the Milky Way? Does Andromeda have its own Chaos Gods? Does it have its own, areas of the warp to itself that we've never explored before, even though the warp fucks with the laws of physics and tells it to piss off?
It could just be a simple fact that the Milky Way is simply the most violent galaxy.
That's extremely unlikely.
But we don't know.
And the Milky Way is not that old. So the Chaos Gods only came into being in the Middle Ages, so 1500 Terran Standard, or 1000 Terran Standard, when the galaxy itself
they started taking form 65 million years ago.
When humans start, yeah.
Well,
but the galaxy is way older than that, and the universe is way older than that.
Yeah.
So,
because remember, in the Milky Way, the first civilization to arise, first civilization were the old ones. They were the first civilization.
Yes.
Or at the very least, at the very least, the first spacefaring civilization.
Yes.
And then it was the Necrontyrs, like the second spacefaring civilization. Then there was the whole War in Heaven bullshit.
Yeah, the Eldari get uplifted, the Kroaks get uplifted.
Chikero, Hrud. Everyone gets uplifted. Because I think, like, literally, aside from the Nids, the only other race that we know are extragalactic are the Zotes.
Yes.
And I imagine they came from the same, they probably originated in the same galaxy, to be honest. I mean, for all we know, the Nids probably ate Andromeda. We don't know.
They may well have done.
For all we know, the Zotes could originate from Andromeda, or to be honest, like, no, it was the Archon. It was the Archon that did it. Not the Drukhari Archon, the other one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But no, it's difficult because...
To be honest, I think some writers probably feel like, well, we're never going to go to Andromeda. We don't have to explain it, kind of thing. Then again, you could possibly argue it's like, well, maybe it was like a things across all of the universe that gave birth to the Chaos Gods, rather than humanity or whatever, or events in this galaxy specifically. It's just that we have such a narrow focus, galactically speaking, on events here. Like, it kind of has to be focused on stuff here because everything else is beyond our comprehension as, like, the audience, essentially.
Yes, absolutely. It's one of those of the Chaos Gods are beings from another dimension. That's headfucky enough without getting into, like, how they were created and where it comes from. Like, it's just another level.
Yeah. It's the warp, don't think about it, essentially.
Yeah, it's the warp, don't think about it.
It's magic. Magic, yeah. A wizard did it.
A wizard did it. The warp did it. Hey!
The warp did it. Hey!
Right. There's a couple about Clone Fulgrim, but I think we talked about that quite a lot last episodes, and they're just picking up off that. Okay, one last one. With the return of fantasy / the old world, which previously non-playable factions would you like to see explored, and which of them would you like to see represented in Age of Sigmar? They throw out Araby, Lumbria, and Koresh, for example. Well, Araby was playable, wasn't it?
It was playable in Warmaster, I know that, which is basically was like Warhammer Fantasy's version of Epic.
Oh, was it not actually available in base game? Or was that just in like Dogs of War or something? I don't know.
I think they had a couple of units in Dogs of War, but that was about it. Because they had like Al-Mukhtar's Desert Dogs as original renown. Al-Mukhtar was literally just Warhammer Fantasy Lawrence of Arabia. Literally, his entire story is literally Lawrence of fucking Arabia. If I had to pick one, I don't know, because I don't really remember much about the factions of fantasy. It's been so long, but I'll probably just say...
No, me neither.
I'll just say the Amazons. Fuck it.
That would be interesting, but no, I haven't got anything.
Especially work on their relationship with the Lizardmen. Because they both live in Lustria, don't they? Because the Amazons were originally Norse women warriors who were basically kicked out of the colony because the Norse said, you're not allowed to be warriors, you've got to be housewives. And they're like, no, fuck that, we're warriors now. We're going to become Amazons.
I don't remember, in all truth. I don't know my fantasy lore well enough.
Fair enough.
But yes, that's broadly it. There's one about gameplay, but I really don't have enough experience to comment. And there was a bit more about blanks, like what happens if a blank walks through a warp gate and physically enters the warp. Like not like Gellerfield, like they just walk into a warp gate.
No idea, because I don't think it's ever happened.
No, me neither. But I imagine they get booped back out again.
Probably. I imagine it'd just be the equivalent of oil and water. Essentially.
They don't. Yeah, they might just walk through the gate and come out the other side.
Unscathed, possibly, yeah.
Well, not even travel through the warp, but literally, like...
Oh, yeah, literally just like I'm just walking through as if there was nothing there. It's like...
Yeah, there's literally nothing there. I just walked through and I'm still here. I've just walked through this warp gate and I'm still here.
It's like, God damn it.
Yeah, I think that's probably rational.
And on that note, ladies and gentlemen, we shall call it an end for this episode. So thank you very much to everyone who tuned in for this episode. We hope you enjoyed it despite our lack of guest. But don't worry, next week, touch wood, we should actually get a guest for you to actually enjoy. So until next time, this has been Remleiz from 40k Theories.
And this has been Neve from Tactica Imperialis.
and we'll see you again soon. Bye bye.